Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so delighted to introduce you to my guest today, Tony Martignetti. Tony is a leadership coach with a specialty in working with leaders and their teams to navigate through change and unlock their true potential. He supports leaders in gaining clarity so they can make well-informed decisions, improve their leadership skills, and ultimately increase their impact. Tony is known for supporting leaders in finding clarity so that they are energized, unstoppable, and lead with a strong presence. When leaders unlock their potential and lead from a place of inspired purpose, their positive impact and powerful leadership are amplified. Before sharing his experience as a coach, Tony was a finance and strategy professional with experience working with some of the world's leading life sciences companies. Along his journey, he also managed small businesses and ran a financial consulting company. Throughout his career, he has gained lessons not only as a leader, but also working with high-performing leaders across multiple organizations. It is his passion for helping people that fuels his inspiration at Inspired Purpose Coaching, which is his company. Please join me in welcoming Tony Martignetti. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tammy. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Good. I'm so pleased to be here.
I am so happy to have you here. So, as you know, Work from the Inside Out is a podcast all about the kinds of transitions that people make in their careers. And you have made quite a few transitions in your career. And I'd love for you to take us back to some of your earlier years, maybe even, I don't know, your childhood. And tell us about, some of the earlier times and how you made some changes along the way, what you were thinking and what you were doing and how that led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And it is interesting that you say childhood because it really does start that far back. I've been through changes quite a lot. My childhood was that of a creative child, the artist type. I was really known for drawing and painting and doing a lot of those types of activities. Eventually, along my path, people said to me, you're not going to be able to make a living creating artwork and doing artwork in general. And so I started to shift gears towards something that was going to be able to make a living for me. So the creative child was stunted and moved towards a more scientific and practical leaning. And I decided to go into pre-med.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Quite a shift.
That was quite a shift.
Yeah. So I started my college years as a pre-med student, and then eventually found that didn't fit well, and moved into business. So I figured, and maybe there's some way I'd be able to marry the sciences and business together. And I got into a field where I was doing accounting and finance as my discipline because it's the foundation of business. And I decided that I would do that. Got into some great companies, had a co-op. I was at Northeastern, did a co-op at Gillette, and started in the big companies of Gillette. And eventually got into the high-tech industry in finance and moved into biotech finally, where I got the chance to really marry up my love of science and business in a role that allowed me to work with some amazing companies like Genzyme, Vertex, and Sarepta. So Genzyme, I worked with Genzyme for about 8 years. And while I was there, I was able to see some really amazing things happen. I saw a company that grew substantially in those years. and I saw some twists and turns as the industry really grew a lot in those years. So it was really, for me, that was a formative time. Really, I'd say the core of what I was doing is I was a finance professional.
Okay.
Kind of started as an analyst and then moved up towards more of a leader in the space. More on the strategic side of finance. But I was leading teams, helping them to analyze businesses, understanding what's going on financially. But one of the things I also got into is getting into doing some deals and transactions. So more the strategic side of the house. I worked on bringing new drugs into the company, and also looking at options to take certain drugs into, basically offshoring them.
It sounds like you started more on sort of the technical side of finance and then moved more into the strategic side, and then you were leading teams and managing people and really working more on the people side, but also strategically negotiating deals and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So was that kind of an organic process for you that all evolved? Because it sounds like you started very analytically, almost in your head more, and then moved sort of more outwardly, dealing more with people. And I know I'm saying this in a very general sense, but it does, I'm trying to get sort of I realize this happened over many years, but trying to get the sense of how you started as a, let's say, 20-something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting into, kind of fitting into this kind of very analytical, kind of heady kind of role with probably a lot of, I guess, pretty technical kinds of skills, and then blending in more of your people side.
There's an element of always feeling like a square peg in a round hole, because although I did have this technical and analytical background, it was always an element of being a personable and outgoing and creative type still at the core.
Got it.
And so when I was in my role as that finance person, I was always building relationships, business partnering, and having this curiosity to learn more about other people and how they work and how the relationships work. So I think it organically happened because of my thirst for learning and putting myself into situations that allowed me to get more involved with new initiatives, with new things, and taking on new responsibilities.
What do you think were the keys to getting involved with those new things and those? Because you were in a number of different cultures too, from Gillette. Did you go right from Gillette to Genzyme?
No, I'm from Gillette to a company called Modus Media, which was now they're called Modus Link. And Modus Link was a supply chain management company in the high-tech space.
Oh, okay. So another industry.
Yeah. And that was interesting times because that was about the time when the bubble burst on the high-tech space. So people were outsourcing to these companies that would basically be the outsource model for companies like Dell or Microsoft, with a huge footprint in China, Europe, Eastern Europe. Yeah, and I think there's always this like yearning for finding out where I really truly belonged in the world.
Yeah.
And but being let's call myself the overachiever type, working really diligently to see how I could get to that next level and make that happen for me and see what's next. And always asking myself, is there more to life than this?
So when you say see what's next, it sounds like it came from a place of, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it almost came from a place of, I'm still trying to quite figure out where I fit or what feels right. So I have to see what's next because I haven't quite found it.
Absolutely. Tammy, this is why you're good at your job.
I have this sense of you. We've talked a few times, we've met in person. I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I just have this sense that you are someone who you're going to make something work regardless.
Yes. You've defined it right there. And that's in some ways what I help other people do too.
Yeah.
Is to say that it's about continuing to experiment until you figure out what it is that really makes your heart sing.
You move through several industries, pharmaceuticals, biotech, all of those. And it sounds like into more strategic types of roles. And then where did things really transition for you into more of your own business, or was there some other steps that you took?
There's always more to the story than
Good.
that.
Tell me.
So after Genzyme, got into Vertex, and Sarepta was the first, let's say, small company experience. I was there, the 15th employee hired at Sarepta after being launching a drug over at Vertex. When I got into Sarepta, I was tasked with some interesting, dynamics. I basically had to take a company that was located in Washington State. It was a great experience, and I realized quickly that it wasn't going to be the job for me. And I, at that moment, said, "I think it's time for me to try my own thing."
So was that the first time that you really thought about doing something on your own?
Yes, the first time.
Okay.
And I decided to go off my own and start my own consulting company in the finance space. And I started a company called LifeSci Financial Consulting.
LifeSci?
Yep. Where I was helping small to mid-sized biotech companies to set up their finance organizations and to help them with all types of different transactional stuff, raising money, doing all types of different things to help them get on the right footing from a financial perspective. Also helping them with deals, strategic deals, modeling, things like that. And the great thing is when you're known for something and you put your shingle out there and say, "This is what I am, this is what I'm doing," it's relatively easy because you're a known commodity.
Yes.
But when you start a company like coaching, which is what I'm doing now, it's a whole different ballgame. You have to change your persona. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but that's something that happened much further down the line.
Right.
There's something in between. I ended up getting quite a lot of business through my consulting business, and eventually went to go work full time with one of my clients. I went to go work for Momenta Pharmaceuticals for a stretch of time, and great company, and had a great experience there overall. Worked really hard, built a good team, worked on a lot of different programs. Eventually, there was some restructuring, ended up moving on from that organization, went back to consulting. And, this is one of the things that's a real test to resilience, is knowing that when you get knocked down, you just figure out what to do to get back up and move on. I decided to get back into consulting and do finance again. And so here I am, continuing to follow the same pattern and not break the pattern. And here, as I went back into finance, I started to work on different finance projects. And I was sitting in a meeting one day with a CEO and a CMO, Chief Medical Officer, and I realized, as I was hearing them argue about something really trivial, trying to see who was right about what was going on in a particular situation, I came to the realization that I didn't want to waste my time in meetings with leaders who constantly waste their authority to be great leaders. They have the opportunity, a gift that's given to them to be inspiring and to be the type of leaders who we need in this space. And I, at that moment, had this feeling of like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done sitting in rooms like this and collecting a paycheck and not feeling as though I'm doing anything that's meaningful. So I decided to move on. And that's
So
what I
was
did.
it just like was it like a switch just turned off in you or something? Or had these thoughts been swirling within you prior to that?
Yeah, they've been swirling in my head for a while up to that point, knowing that there was something a little bit off in me.
Yeah.
And but that moment was the break for me to say that this is it. I've got to change something. I need to do something that's going to make my life make sense.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, I guess, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for you, where it had been brewing and the pot kind of came off the lid at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I reflect on that moment and I think about like the ways that I could have played it out, some people would say, "Oh, well, do a side gig, get coaching on the side while you're making some money,
Yeah.
just suck it up and just, have a job, just deal with it."
Yeah.
I instead chose to take the hard path, which was to say, "No, I'm done. Just done." And I decided to forego the comfort of the corporate paycheck and the corporate, being part of an organization. And I decided to just move on and just say, "I'm going to do this." Got certified as a
So when
coach.
you said, "I'm going to do this," did you just leave that meeting that day and stop everything? Or did you gradually
I gave
taper
notice.
off? What's that?
I did give notice.
You did.
So,
But you were a consultant at that point,
no,
right?
at that point, I was actually working with that company. I actually was also working for them too. I decided to go permanent with that company as well.
Okay, so you were an employee at that point. Okay. And so you had done kind of the I'm a consultant, then you were hired full time, then you were a consultant again for a while, and then you were hired full time. And I did that dance for a few years when I was in the fundraising world. So I know what that dance is like. So you gave notice, and you already had your sights set on coaching, or did you know what that switch was going to look like, or was it more like, I know this isn't it, but I don't know what the it is?
I had some inklings. I had been working with a coach a little bit, and so I had the taste of what coaching was. I had a feeling that this was the path I was going to go down, but
Okay.
it still wasn't clear. I didn't have all the clarity of what it was I was going to do. I just knew that something new was arising in me, that I needed to do something different.
Mm.
And that's when it became absolutely clear at that moment that this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And you listened to it.
I did, finally.
Yeah.
I should have listened to it maybe a long time ago, but
Yeah. Well, I think back to even, when you talk about being a creative child, an artist type, and how, everybody told you, oh, you can't make a living as an artist. So you started on the pre-med track. And
mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking, what happened to the artist? What happened to the child who used to like to draw and all that? And all of a sudden you were just switching gears.
Yeah.
You know, did you just stuff that all away? Or how did you take that sort of left turn that way? Now, as children, we often will listen to well-intentioned adults and take those turns, right? But a lot of us who do that often will, wake up 35 years old, 40 years old and say, hey, wait a minute, I left a whole part of me behind.
It's 100% agree. I mean, that's exactly the feeling that I felt like I left that child behind. And I feel like now, being in the space I'm in now, I'm able to be more creative. I'm able to connect with that side of me in a more full way. And I have no regrets about what, has transpired. All the things, all the wounds that are part of my journey.
Yeah.
They make me who I am. And I'm so grateful for that. I always say I'm grateful for the journey because the journey makes me who I am. But the reality is at that point, I started to get into coaching, more business coaching, because I was, opening up to coaching, but I wasn't fully into the type of coaching that I'm doing now.
Okay.
Coaching I was doing then was more like, how can I help bottom line, help a company grow, and how can I help, the ROI of a company. So I got into more of a business coaching program.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, continuing to explore deeper into who I was as a coach, and understanding and growing into what is the business of coaching all about, really.
Yeah.
Because there's two aspects of coaching. There's the coaching itself, the act of coaching, but then there's also the business of coaching.
Mm.
And you have to fall in love with both.
Say more.
For me, coaching is a calling. I know it's in me, it's in my heart, but I have to love the process of getting people enrolled in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And the business of coaching is something that when I see people like connect with what it is and have a conversation with them about what coaching is, it's really powerful. But I can't get to that conversation of getting people to see the magic of coaching unless I get out there and talk about it, get people enrolled, get people excited. I can't sit back here and say, I really love to coach, but I don't want to talk to people about coaching because I don't like selling.
Right. Right. No, I share that perspective with you.
Yeah.
People say to me, how do you sell yourself, or how do you sell coaching? And I always say to them, I don't do either of those. I engage people in a conversation, and then we talk about how coaching can serve them to address their needs or address how they can make changes or transformations that they're looking to make.
Yeah.
But it's part of the process. It's not something it doesn't come in a box with a price tag on it, but I understand that because of the kind of culture and society we live in, people are always looking at the price tag and wondering what's in the box and how much am I going to get?
Yeah.
And it's hard to quantify it in that way.
Yeah. That's why I always kind of feel it's about like serving first. It's about, thinking about how can I help the person in front of me and worry about those details later,
Yeah. Although that's hard to explain that to people.
Yeah.
So you started when you first departed from your employment situation, you first started thinking, it sounds like you were almost thinking more with that consultant hat on a little bit more, being kind of a business coach, but with a consultant hat on.
Mm-hmm.
And then how did that evolve for you?
Yeah. It really comes to the same thing that I was feeling when I first exited corporate. The element of, okay, I tried on a new suit, and it didn't quite fit perfectly. And since I'm on this road of like connecting with who I am as a person, why don't I really commit to that? And so I decided that this felt good, but not all the way. So why don't I try something on that feels even better?
Yeah.
So I started to go down this path of like getting more into the whole person coaching. And I got certified as through IPEC to become a basically a certified coach that helps people from a whole person perspective.
Right.
Focusing on the leader.
Yeah, the leader within, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love the title of this podcast. It's Inside Out.
Right.
And that to me resonates so well because you're taking the person from the inside and then bringing it out.
Right.
To the people around them and to the people around them.
Right.
And all the way out to the world.
That's right. That's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly why you're doing what you're doing, right? So you pursued the IPEC program and was certified in that, and that really gave you the opportunity both to do the self exploration in addition to working with a coach.
Yep.
The coaching training often also gives you that opportunity to, do a lot of self exploration.
Yeah.
And also to give you a toolkit and skills and to practice skills that you can use to help other people do that kind of exploration with it for themselves as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the IPEC program really, really hit the nail on the head for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of many things that has really helped a lot. IPEC was a big part of that journey.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I would say is getting into more and more conversations with powerful people that I have learned a lot from. When I say powerful people, I've connected with people who are, I would say, part of my tribe, other coaches who I find have really shared their gifts with me, like yourself. But no, it takes that. It takes a lot of learning from the people who have been in the game for longer, and they're able to kind of give their gifts to you and understanding, what works for them. Doesn't mean it's going to work for me. It just helps to understand where they're coming from.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I don't mean just about me, but I mean, especially when we're working, as a solopreneur.
Yes.
It really helps to, and I would say this to anybody who's looking to figure out what is next for them. It really helps to talk to either other people who've been down a path. It may not be the exact path you're planning on going down, but any path that you think you might want to go down, to learn from someone else's experience, not just because you want to duplicate what they did, but because by learning about what they did, it might spark something in you. Exactly. It might give you an idea to do something for yourself, or it might bring out a part of you that you hadn't connected with in a while. And I think that we always learn something about ourselves as we're in relationship to others, right? And so, and by being, and it's very different, I think, when you start connecting with other people who are doing things that inspire you, even if you don't want to do exactly what they're doing, than being in, let's say, a large company where everybody is busy doing every day, worrying about the company's bottom line. Not that certain companies aren't inspired places to work, because they can be. But if you're really trying to create something of your own, it's hard to do that in a large, institution or large corporate environment. So it really does give you that opportunity when you are either engaged in your own learning or trying to, develop that kind of tribe, as you're saying.
Yeah.
So what else would you say has been helpful to you in developing this part of your professional life?
Yeah. Well, I just want to add something to your last thing. I know this sounds a little out there, but I always think about the universe always being rigged in my favor.
Yeah.
I'm coming from that abundance mindset, because people knowing that other people are willing to help you, but you have to be able to kind of go out there and get it.
Yep.
They're not going to come to you to help you. So that was something that I just wanted to add, because I loved where you were going with that.
Yeah.
So what other things have been, helpful is really continuing to try new things and getting uncomfortable. Getting uncomfortable is really kind of the one thing that has been constant, especially over the past 2 years, is putting myself into rooms where I feel like I don't belong. And then finding that I'm not alone. Everyone feels uncomfortable. So, and then that's how you grow, right? You grow from being uncomfortable, and then finding that, you grow into those shoes that you think are too big for you.
And sometimes you try new things and you realize it fits really well. It just was new, and you didn't realize when you get in there, oh, I should have been here all along.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it can go both ways. I mean, I don't think that discomfort is, or on being uncomfortable is a requirement per se, but I think even the notion of trying something new brings about that feeling of, or that anticipation that it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I just thought of this. I'm the king of quotes, but this is what I deal in. But I always think of this Peter Bregman quote, which is just like so powerful. It's like, if you're willing to feel everything, you can have anything. And I think that is the best way to think about being uncomfortable. It's like you'll feel less than, you'll feel all these things, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's having those feelings that helps you to have the other side of that.
Mm-hmm. If you are willing to have anything, you will have everything.
So if you're willing to feel everything,
If you're willing to feel
everything, the pleasure, the pain, all the things that come along with discomfort, then you can have anything.
You can have anything. Okay, cool. I like that. Neat. So here you are now, and tell me if I'm right about this. You are now about 2 years into your coaching practice?
Yeah, just about 2 years.
Yeah. So what is it looking like today?
Well, the journey continues. Working with some amazing people that inspire me, and that's the key thing. I look for people who inspire me, not for me to inspire. Starting to make more and more inroads into teamwork. Because there's there's a gift in being able to work with people in conjunction with other people and seeing how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the shift I'm in right now. I love the one-on-one. I love seeing people come together, making some moments of aha. But ultimately, I'm seeing the teamwork as being the next shift for me. I focus a lot on psychological safety. For those who don't know what that is, it really the underpinnings of high-performing teams. When you have the safety to come to work and people give you the opportunity to speak up and be appreciated. It's becoming more and more present right now because of the need to be more virtual in this time of turbulent times. I've been spending a lot of time focusing on that area. I'm one of 18 coaches in the world who's certified in this program. So it's been really an amazing journey for me to get into that. So that's some work I'm doing now.
And that program is?
It's called the Fearless Organization.
Okay, we'll put a link to that in our show notes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. So people can learn more about that. This is great. So in terms of, people thinking about their what's next and whether they are feeling, let's say, that they're not really sure if they are fitting in where they should be, or maybe they are feeling uncomfortable and are thinking about what's next, what they should do next. What would you say is a key piece of advice that you might give somebody or guide someone through as they're considering their options?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first thing I would do is take a pause, create some space, because you won't be able to have that clarity of thinking if you're just continuing to do this amongst all the other things you're doing. And think about what patterns you're stuck in.
Yeah. Great.
And then start to kind of look at what really lights me up. What things do I do that light me up? And how can I lean more into that?
Yeah. And I'm going to add to your thing. I'm going to add to that and say I love the way you share that, because it's something that somebody can do in a kind of progressive way. Pause, take some space, notice where you're stuck, and then think about what lights you up. And I would add to that and say, and don't do all of this alone.
Yeah.
Because, And I'm not saying this to sell coaching to anybody, but I would say that it really helps to have either a thinking partner or an accountability partner or someone who knows you well or appreciates you to bounce some ideas around with. Because if you stay inside your own head thinking about what is next for you or what you think you might want to do, it's very easy to then get stuck in your own thinking or lost in your own thinking. It really helps to talk to somebody else about it and think about what the options might be. Another thing that I suggest people do along the lines of what lights you up is ask somebody or think, or even ask yourself, think about what are the things that when people thank you for something, what lights you up? Because oftentimes when you've been thanked for something and it lights you up, that's often something that you feel really good about having contributed somewhere. And that's usually something that you probably would like to continue to do or contribute. And so you want to make sure you hold on to some of those qualities or attributes or skills in whatever you do next. And it might look different somewhere else, but it's still something to hold on to. So that's just a thought to add on to your wonderful advice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, Tony, thank you so much for being here today. This was really interesting. I loved hearing about all the different places you've been and the ways that you've thought about it. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Tanny. This is fantastic. Really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Tony Martignetti. It was so interesting to speak with him and learn about his professional path to where he is today. What is your key takeaway from our conversation? Is there something you'll put into action this week that you'll benefit from for years to come? Share what resonated with you in the show notes at workfromtheinsideout.com. Look for episode 072. That's also where you'll find all the links and resources from today's podcast. If you enjoyed this episode with Tony, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at www.tammygulerloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. And who knows, maybe you'll be my next interview on this podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.